So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology, Galaxy S8 now. So I've been getting a few requests about this particular device and if this phone is even still worth it anymore. This is the 2017 flagship Samsung device. Succeeding that was the Galaxy S9 in 2018 and in 2019, the S10. However, there is something you should note about the Galaxy S8 here, and that is that Samsung is not going to be pushing the Android 10 update to this device. They gave you your 2 years support, and that's kind of what you get on this phone right now. So it's not going to be getting Android 10 officially. Now, there should be ways you can root this device to get Android 10 on it, but let's just discuss if the hardware, if this phone is still worth the purchase. So when looking at the price points of the Galaxy S8, you can see that the prices are pretty now low, like well under 200 bucks, some selling for like 130. So, and some, if you get them new, still in the 270s. That's a little high, I believe, but the Galaxy S8 is in the territory of really cheap budget devices. There's one big drawback again though, and that's the software. Okay guys, so let's discuss the body of the S8 because I still think this is a very nice phone and it's still pretty impressive when I pick this device up, and that's mostly due to just how it feels in the hand. I always loved the curved feel in the corners of this device. It's one of the most comfortable phones I've ever held in my entire usage of devices, and it still impresses to this day. So from a hardware standpoint, this is still a pretty device. Now, not every phone has stretched the entire display. This one still does give you bezels on both the top and the bottom of the device, but there's some phones that still have bezels on them, and this one is still a pretty good look. I actually think it aged very well in the Galaxy S8. Even the single camera is not too big of a deal because iPhone XR still has a single camera. So from an aesthetic beauty standpoint, how this phone feels as a piece of hardware, I definitely would go for it if you care about the hardware more than the software. Now on the top, you can see this phone had that SD card slot. We have a headphone jack here, USB-C, and a single speaker. Did not like that a lot. Just the way the screen wraps around the sides of this device, and on the back side you can see it almost matches the front side. So very beautiful design here. A lot of people didn't like this Bixby button over here, but check out that camera. We're used to cameras with big bumps now. This camera is literally flush with the body. Really do think that if you buy the Samsung Galaxy S8, you're still getting a very gorgeous piece of hardware, even right now in 2019. Sans maybe that fingerprint placement, that was a little bit awkward, but the phone itself still feels like $1,000,000 in your hand, even though it's 200 bucks or less now. So let's talk about that display on the Galaxy S8. You can see what a gorgeous panel right here. I mean, the text is just extremely sharp for this phone. Even now, 570 pixels per inch. This is far superior to what's on the iPhone XR and 11 right now. So let's go into our settings here for the Galaxy S8. Let me click settings here, and you're gonna see you can even tweak it quite a bit here. You got AMOLED photo modes, cinema, basic, and adaptive display. Now, cinema is a decent mode, but I do prefer the adaptive display. This gives you a very saturated look on this phone, maybe too saturated for some. If we go over into photo, you get a more natural look here, and basic is the most toned down you can get on the Galaxy S8. But overall, I mean, still a fantastic display. When the S8 launched, it was one of the best, if not the best display on the market. Also, with the new Android 9 Pie, One UI, you were able to now have gestures, which means that you no longer have the navigation keys blocking the display at the bottom, giving you more of an immersive experience. When watching video, you can see that the entire display is shown. I mean, there's no real problem with anything getting in your way. So this was a fantastic phone to watch video on, and it was also very light here. So all around, I think if you were buying this phone right now, you'll absolutely love the display. So let's talk about software with the Galaxy S8. We are running Android 9 Pie on here with the One UI, and that brings awesome things like the night mode on this phone. It also gives you some nice features when it comes to advanced features. So this phone also gives you motion and gestures. Let's go over here and let me show you what I'm talking about. So you have lift to wake, smart stay, smart alert, easy mute, direct call. All of this stuff in this phone still makes this a very packed with features device. We reduce the animations here and it gets even faster. We'll talk about the performance in just a minute here. But essentially, One UI cleaned things up. It brought things down a little bit closer to make it easier to text, easier to find, buttons at the bottom of the display. And of course, you still have your one-handed mode on this phone. And of course, the Galaxy S8 can still do great multitasking like pop views, split screens. And check this out. This does have the pop view just like the new phone. So we can bring this down, bring it over here, maybe pop open the calculator right here. Let's go over to calculator. We can pop that one down. If we're doing something else, we can move these bubbles around. We do have the edge panel on this phone. So, I mean, the Galaxy S8 is packed with the features. This is a flagship level experience as it was when it came out, and it still is to this day. It just doesn't seem like it's going to get the latest software. So if you're looking for a discounted S8 right now, you just got to live with the fact of knowing that you're not going to get software updates. You will get software security updates, but I'm talking like major software updates for the phone. They're just probably not going to come to this device. Again, you can root it, but honestly, I think the software should hold up for at least a year or two more because it's very feature packed, even though you wouldn't be getting the latest. But this is a major drawback, and it might be the deal breaker for a lot of people. It would be for me, but it might not be so important to you, but it would be the deal breaker for me on the S8. So what is the performance like for this Samsung Galaxy S8? Well, I can tell you that it's pretty good performance. We do have a flagship 835 CPU in here, which is a very good chipset for this phone. So it actually performs quite well in day-to-day tasks. You're not going to notice it being a huge issue when opening up applications, scrolling through websites, things like that. Where you will notice a little bit of a hiccup is if you get too many applications open. This phone is only rocking with 4 gigs of RAM. You might once in a while run into maybe a reload or maybe an app crashes here and there. This phone is not the best Samsung performer I've ever seen, but it's still a strong performer nonetheless. So if you are looking for decent performance, this has it. It just doesn't have, I would say, top tier performance anymore. I'm still pretty impressed with how it's holding up. I mean, the Samsung Galaxy S8 is rocking out with 64 gigs of storage, and of course you can expand the memory in here. So with that being said, the storage shouldn't be a huge concern for a lot of people. And going into 2020, if you were to pick this one up used for a good deal, how is the camera on this phone? Well, I can say that it has tons of features down to even a pro mode on here with even some pro-like features, like you got the ability to change your autofocus right here on the fly, white balance. You can change your exposure. I mean, it's packing quite a bit of features. Even up here, if we click this guy, we do have metering mode. So, I mean, this is some really pro stuff that you just don't find on a lot of other smartphones unless you download a third-party application that offers it up. Now, if we go into settings on this phone, you're going to find stuff everywhere. I mean, so many camera modes, so many things you can do. And one thing I really like about these Samsung phones is you can bring the shutter wherever you want and take a photo just like so. You can hold down to do a burst mode, and you can flip this camera around to the selfie camera. You can see we're recording this on the iPhone 11 Pro Max, but this device has a pretty solid front-facing camera, a little bit soft. It's not going to be pro level. It's a little bit soft, but you can do some pretty good 2K video on the front of this one. So if we go to front video size right here, you can see I can bring this up to 2K 1440p. So you can get a pretty sharp front facing video, and same with the rear. You can do up to 4K 30 on this phone. So there's plenty of resolution to mess around with. It's a solid camera producing pretty good results. They're just not going to be top of the game anymore, and they're not going to have the best low light performance, the best dynamic range, stuff like that. But in good lighting, it's still a pretty impressive performer on the Galaxy S8. But see, the tricky part is that with the S8, it doesn't have the wide angle, it doesn't have the telephoto, and there's phones that are budget class devices that have things like this. That's what makes this a tough sell, even though it's a couple years back and it still has flagship feel and things like that. It just doesn't have the different variations of cameras. And that takes me on to the phone's battery life. You can see I'm sitting at 72%. And what can I say about battery life on this phone? Well, we're rocking out with a 3000 milliamp hour battery for this phone, so it's a pretty good size. And considering that the Galaxy S8 doesn't have the largest screen, 5.8 inches, it actually can get you through a day if you're just doing medium usage. I mean, if you're doing heavy usage, this phone needs a charge midway through the day, but it's not a terrible performer. Just put the power mode down into optimize. If you really want to save some juice, go to medium power saving modes. I think most people can get through a day with the S8. And if they can't, they probably have a battery pack. Of course, there's battery cases on the market that are really cheap for this phone, so It's not going to be a big issue there. So I don't want to go on too long about the audio quality because it does have a pretty tinny speaker right here, easy to cover with a finger while using the phone. This was very big upgrade for the S9 with the dual speakers, Dolby Atmos, so do miss out on that with the S8. That's a big problem for me. And having a headphone jack is pretty solid, although this is not the best sounding headphone jack. That honor would probably go to LG devices of the same year. So yeah, in conclusion, where does the S8 stand now overall? I think it's a phone that is pretty let down by the fact that it's not getting any more major updates from Samsung. I'm pretty disappointed by this because it's not that old. If you consider Apple's device, the iPhone 10, same year, that phone is already updated to iOS 13 and it will continue to be updated. This phone, same year, pretty competitive hardware, not being updated anymore. So we have this beautiful hardware that's kind of going to waste now. It still performs admirably well. It still looks gorgeous. And it's just going to waste with no more major updates. So for me, I actually wouldn't recommend buying this phone right now unless you just can't get over the price for how beautiful the device is and you're just like, I'm only going to use it for like a year or two, get another phone, then it's fine. But if you're not that special case, I'd skip this one out at this point. But it was nice revisiting the Galaxy S8. And if you had one, share your thoughts with the community down below. What are your thoughts on this device going into 2020? Is it time to say goodbye? Let us know. I would love to hear what you got to say about this one. I will be doing an update on the Note 8 as well because sadly, the beautiful Note 8 is still not going to be receiving that update. So it might be one of my last videos on that one as well. Thumbs up if you guys enjoyed this. Have a happy holidays. Nick here helping you to master your technology. Thank you very much for watching. I will catch you all in the next episode. In peace.